Well, hey there. It's Monday and it's time for Monday Mastery. And I'm your host. I can't even remember who I am. I'm your host, author, and dating coach Rick Sodebeer, and I'm here to guide you through the sometimes murky and sometimes interesting waters of dating over 40. We're the midlife daters. And it's been a weird week already, and it's only Monday. And I hope you all had a great weekend. I hope you had a good week last week, and were able to do something fun last over the weekend. It's it's one of those. It was kind of a somber week for me last week, or towards the end of the week. I had an aunt that passed away, my second to the last aunt that I have living, and it was really sad. And but she was 93, and she lived a good long life, and it was time for her to let go. And the upside was that I made connections with a cousin and her husband that we've always been kind of distant, or our families were always far apart in where we lived, and so we didn't never really spent any time together. Hey Lisa, thanks for joining in. Oh, thank you so much. uh, but it was wonderful because we were able to connect. We sat and talked after the funeral, and we just had some good reminiscent conversations with each other, and then with her family friends that knew her family well. So it was really a nice, for lack of better terms, it was really a nice time. It was nice to connect with family that I hadn't really been connected to. So, and that kind of leads into some of the other things it's just caused a lot of things to roll around in my head over the weekend. And like I'd posted this morning, or actually last night, I had questions from people, or comments from people last week that were like, really, are we still rehashing this? And one of those comments is about a woman. I'd had a in my blog last week. I'd used a picture of a woman holding a fish, and in my blog last week, if you read it, was all about taking pictures for your online profile. And this woman sent me a text, and obviously she hasn't followed me that closely, because she would have known that I was going to remind her of what women do. And her comment was, "Please tell men to stop posting pictures with a fish." And and I just kind of laughed, and it is one of those things that for some reason that type of picture really triggers certain women. Yet they don't realize that what he is doing is he's just sharing what he likes to do. He's sharing who he is. He's putting out there, this is what I like to do. If you don't like it, okay. But it's not something you need to criticize, because as a man, I can criticize a number of the pictures that you ladies post. And one of those might be posing with your profile picture, with you looking at your grandchild, and your face not even looking at the camera. you know it's and if you have pet peeves about pictures that you see on in online profiles, please post them, and I'll be happy to share them. Just so the opposite sex can have a better idea of what pictures they you might like, and what pictures you might not like. And now, but we all have to remember that these pictures are supposed to be a representation of who we are, not who somebody wants us to be. That's a huge factor. When I've made it no secret that I'm not a fan of cats. And whenever I see somebody posting a picture of their cat or with their cat, I don't even bother to say hi. I'm scrolling right by. And that's the same attitude or the same philosophy you should be taking when you see somebody that's doing something that you don't like. If you don't like fishing, if you don't like hunting, if you don't like race cars, if you don't like whatever it is, then don't click on it. You don't need to comment. You don't need to criticize. It's their choice of what they want to do. It's their choice of their lifestyle and the things that bring joy to their lives. And who are we to criticize? Some of the things that I regularly tell people, and this goes for men and women: lose the baseball cap. It covers your eyes. Lose the big floppy hats, at least for the main picture. You want to present a profile that people can see. Lose the sunglasses. Nobody can see your eyes, and they say eyes are the window to the soul. And if you want people to get to know you, get to see the real you, they have to see your eyes. Yes, sunglasses and baseball caps and big floppy hats can be okay for one or two pictures farther down the road, or farther into the profile. But beyond that, keep those to an absolute minimum. Keep pictures in your profile to try to keep them to you only. Because and especially ladies, you all love to post group photos, and it is so hard for guys to pick you out. It's like we're picking you out of a lineup, and it's like, okay, which one are you? And then a friend of mine one day, we were talking about online profiles, and he said, what I'll do is, he said he would write to the woman that, especially if they had two or maybe three women in the picture, and he says, which one are you, and do I get to pick which one I date? And it didn't go over very well, but the reality is, we're trying to figure out who you are. And when you add people to the picture, when you add multiple, when you add 3 or 4 or 5 people to a picture, yes, it was a fun time. Yes, it was a great vacation, whatever it was. But you also have to remember, you're trying to portray the best you that you can, and to try to sort out or figure out who you are in from a group of people, especially if you're blonde and all of your friends are blonde, or if you're brunette and all of your friends are brunette. How do we know? And then, and especially this is coming from a man's perspective, that ladies, a lot of times you change your hair color. You might lighten it in the summer. You might darken it in the winter. And so when you have different pictures, we can't always tell who you are, because we don't know what time of year it is, or what season it is, if it's light hair season or dark hair season. And the idea is, when you're creating your online profile, to create something that allows someone to figure out who you are. Hey, Addie, thanks for joining in. Addie says, I changed my hair color often. Yes, you do. Um, and in your defense, that might be the one thing that does make you stand out, because I think the last time I saw you, you had purplish hair, if I recall correctly, and those pictures are going to stand out if you're in a group of people. Guess what? Addie's going to stand out because she's got a color that nobody else has. But overall, the idea is to use photos that yep, purple. The idea is to use photos that help people get to know you or get to visualize you. And we're all to some. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining in. Uh, and Paul says, Addie, I don't know if you can see this, but Paul says, Addie, yes, purple is one of your favorites. So anyway, glad to see you're here, Paul. Thank you for joining in. But the point here is we want to make an impression, and hopefully it's a good impression. And if you're not making a good impression, it's so easy to be passed over. A general rule of mine, and this is just me, that if you're not smiling in the picture, it's a no-go right from the beginning. I don't care how good looking you are. There would have to be something extraordinary in your profile that would make me want to click on it, because what I'm seeing is an unhappy person. And too many of us have been in tough relationships where there's been a lot of unhappiness, a lot of problems, and we don't want to dive into that type of relationship again. And if you're posting pictures where you don't have one single smile, that's going to turn off a lot of people. Now, I understand some of you may have may not like your smile. You maybe you have oral or dental problems, and that's and I understand that, but at least putting a grin on your face to show some happiness. And Addie says a lot of men don't seem to smile on their profiles, and and I get it, and that's if you can't smile, all you're doing is you're sending a message that I'm not a happy person. And I've worked with a number of women that have shown me pictures of the men that they've dated, or the men they are dating. And if I don't see a regular smile in the photos they're sharing with me, I've got to ask them, is he a happy guy? Is he emotionally stable? Is he controlling? Does he have anger issues? All of these things come to mind when I start seeing women sharing pictures like that, where he can't smile in a photo. He's not happy to be in that picture. And those are things. Those are signs. They're subtle, but those are signs that you're with the wrong person, or you're with someone that is not emotionally healthy. Because we all should be able to smile. We all should be able to share some laughter and some giggles, and enjoy life together. But if you can't even take a picture, and I understand there are some people that just don't like their picture taken, and the minute the camera comes out, they start to get grumpy. But you have to get past that if you're one of those people. You have to learn to participate a little bit. You have to learn to enjoy the moment, because there's going to come a point in time, and this was highly impactful on me this last week at my aunt's funeral. is all the pictures her kids had laid out of her and my uncle over the years. They were together for, I think, 69 years, and all of the pictures from when they were very young to within the last few years. These are memories. These are, and they're not necessarily memories for you. They're memories for the younger generation. They're memories for the family. And if you can't just take a second or 5 seconds to take a sorry, I caught a comment here I'll get to in just a second. If you can't take just a couple of seconds or a minute to pose for a picture and smile and act like you're having fun, then you're leaving so many memories on the table. Hey, Sydney, thanks for joining in. Sydney's jumping on to the next topic, and let's go ahead and do that. And one of the topics that I had written about in my post for this evening's program was, when is it okay to lie, or how much can you lie in a relationship? And Sydney says, you should never lie. It's never acceptable. And I agree. Also, the picture topic, you're spot on. Sometimes it's not about you. It's about the memories that others have of you. Exactly. And Sydney, I want to follow up on we can move on to the lying part. When is it okay to? I mean, I understand you're in the camp that it's never acceptable to lie. Would it be okay to lie about a surprise birthday party? Would it be okay to lie about a birthday or anniversary or wedding present or something along that line? A surprise. There, and let's face it, we all do it. And ladies, you typically, and it's something you should never ask a guy, is, do I look fat in this? Because there's no winning that. That is something that it just goes against, if we're honest, and we don't lie and tell you, yes, you look fat in that, then it hurts your feelings and we're in trouble. On the other hand, if we lie about it, then that goes in, and I'm just using you, Sydney, as the scapegoat here. Then, according to Sydney's rules, then that's unacceptable to lie to your partner. So there is a fine line. We all do it, and we all do it within relationships. But where do you draw the line? Hang on, Paul. I'll get to you in just a second. Sydney says, "Well, now that you say that, it's just not acceptable to lie about the heart topics." I will defer to the surprise and a few others. If I ask if I'm fat and you say yes, I already know that. Okay. And Paul says, how about if you like purple hair color? Okay, there you go. I think, Paul, if I were you and Addie asked you if you like her color, you say you love it. At least that would be me. And and hair color is something that is, I've really changed over the years. When my daughter, first showed up with colored hair, I'm not talking blonde or brunette, and because she floated between those for most of her years, growing up years, she was very light haired. And then as she got into high school and a little bit older, she started lightening her hair. And then there came a point where she started experimenting with colors like Addie, like purple. And I've seen her in purple hair. I've seen her in red hair. I mean, flaming red hair. And a couple of other colors. And the first time I saw it, it was like, oh no, what have you done? But then I've gotten to the point where I'm always interested to see what color her hair is going to be now. And I've gotten to the point where I look at other people that have colored hair, and I will regularly compliment them because especially if it's done well. If it's just spray in stuff that some of the kids use, and not so much. But if it's done well and well maintained and well groomed, I'll gladly compliment them on how their hair looks. And you know something? Whether I really like it or not, or whether I'd want somebody in my life to have hair like that, doesn't make any difference. That one little thing has that one little compliment has made somebody feel better. And what in the world is wrong with that? We may not disagree on politics or religion or relationships or anything else. We may not agree on anything. But if you can compliment somebody and give them a little bit of an ego boost, there is nothing wrong with that. And Addie says, my ex and his friends hated when I had short shaved hair. I told them I didn't cut it for them, but for me. And there you go. You have to do these. That's like me. My hair is getting long. I need a haircut. But you have to do these things for you. You have to dress for you. You have to dress for within reason. I think there are probably some exceptions, like dressing extremely risque, or in public or workplaces where it's not exactly appropriate, unless you work in a risque place, like I don't know, women's lingerie or something along that line. So anyway, but going back to lying, does anybody have, besides Sydney, do you have any comments about lying? What about saying, yeah, I want to go someplace, or it can go either way. I want to go someplace, tell some people that you're going, and then not show up, or vice versa. Tell people that you don't want to go someplace, and then all of a sudden they show up and there you are, or you show up after them, saying, okay, well, is that okay? And Sydney says, nope, be honest. And that's, and that's generally my thought. Now there are going to be, but the rest of you can pipe in and share your thoughts and ideas. Just because I'm the only one with the microphone doesn't mean that I won't share what you guys say. Addie brings up a good point. Sometimes it's easier to lie in those instances. And follow through with that for me, Addie. In which instances are you talking about? Are you talking about the example that I gave about going someplace or not going someplace, and just say, yeah, I just wasn't feeling up to it, or I just decided to go at the last minute, or are you talking about the other minor things? Did you eat the last donut? No, the dog must have eaten it. Hang on one second. If it doesn't feel like it that day if I don't feel like it that day to going out, I don't want to start anything unnecessary, or start any unnecessary drama. And I get that. Yep. And that's how many people do we know that create their own drama just so they can get attention? And that's a huge that can be a huge problem in any relationship. I know we all know people that just they will suck the life out of you with all the drama, and yet they don't realize that they're the center of most of their own issues. They create most of their own issues. But so many people are addicted to the attention that they get from this, that they continue to do it. They don't know what life would be like if it were peaceful and calm. Anybody have friends like that it's like, oh, here we go again. Here's the next story. Here's the And Addie says, we'll pop this up. Addie says, I steer clear from drama, people. I don't engage. And, that's probably the best. That's probably the best way to handle it, is just don't engage. If they come up and try to start something, say, yeah, that's out of my pay grade. You'll have to deal with that on yourself. Like those that post, Addie says, like those that post on social media, I just scroll on by. And that's, for a number of years, I would engage with those folks. I would engage and try to share my opinion, and I will, to a limited extent, maybe once or twice a year now. But there are just too many people out there that will come at you with the long knives, and people you don't even know. And I've been unfriended by so many people because of that. And it didn't bother me to let them go, because they were just going to be antagonistic. And to Addie's point, you just stayed clear of that drama. And actually, when it comes to social media anymore, and you all do what you want, but I've started to just to unfriend people on social media just because they post so much garbage. And it doesn't have to be political. It's just the drama in their life that is just, it's just not healthy. And I don't want to feed that monster. And that's all it is. It's a monster. Hey, Sharon, thanks for joining in. Sharon says, I don't like drama. I don't either. So that's just another issue that life can be so much easier, so much happier when we're not dealing with drama. Now, that's not to say that it's not going to happen. At my aunt's wedding, the cousins, there's drama in that family, as there is in most families. But there was drama there that I wasn't aware of, that I picked up on, and I was able to talk to my cousin about it, and we kind of, for lack of better terms, commiserated, because we both understand, we understand where the other one is at, and we understand our families a little better right now. And Paul says, another question: what benefit do women receive from putting eligible guys in the friend zone? Okay, ladies, this one's for you. Paul's asking, what benefit do you get from putting an eligible guy in the friend zone? And I have some thoughts on it, but I'd rather get some input from you all. So I'll let, and Addie says we get companionship, but if that's not what the man, if that's not what the man wants, I let him go. Okay, Paul, there's one answer. Anybody else? You know, I'd be happy to let any of the others chime in. And Lisa and Sydney. Although Sydney, I know you're married, so you know one technical aspect of it would be that, or one potential one potential reason, Paul, would be that they're not emotionally ready for a serious relationship. And there's it could be that they're recently widowed, and or it could be that they're recently divorced, and they have stuff to deal with. And it's just they're just not emotionally ready yet, even though you may be. You can't force somebody else to be ready and willing and able to date when they're not there. I one date that I was fixed up on. We did a double date. I was introduced to somebody, and she was recently widowed. And I say recently, she was about 11 months or 12 months widowed. And it was early on. It was actually even before I started this career. And I started to recognize how wounded she still was. Most of our conversations revolved around her late husband. She hadn't had a chance to even begin to grieve. As I learned later, not from her, but through other experiences and through studying, and through conversations with widows, she hadn't even gotten through the year of firsts. The year of the first Christmas, the first birthday, the first anniversary, and whatever other holidays they celebrated. She hadn't gotten through that yet. And that is a brutally difficult time for any widow. I spoke with a widow over the last week, and she was 2 years out and uh, on the dating sites already. And I just shared with her that she's not anywhere near ready, in my opinion. I didn't know her well, but there's just so much stuff that she doesn't even know yet. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. And so it's difficult to share that with somebody. So Paul, it may be that some of the women that you're referring to may not be emotionally ready. Some women just are looking for friendship, and that's okay. I know quite a few women that just want friendship. They don't want to get married again. They don't want to be in a relationship again. They just want companionship. And you have to recognize that that's their prerogative. And unfortunately, if you're looking for a committed relationship, then no matter how good they are, it will never be the right relationship for you. It's something that you have to set aside. Yes, it's hard to set a good woman aside, but you have to do it because you have to keep looking. And if you try to convince her to date you, it's only going to go generally miserably wrong. And that's the worst thing that you can possibly do. You not only do you ruin a friendship, but you or potentially ruin a relationship. You can destroy a friendship out of it. And Addie says, trust us. We don't want to put men in the friend zone. It just means the connection fully isn't there. And that's another part of it, and uh, that's a great another great point, Addie. Thank you. The if the chemistry is not there, and it has to be on both sides. It can't just be a one-sided relationship. I've dated, and I'm sure most of you have dated people that said, "Yeah, this is a great woman. This she could be my soulmate. She could, we could have an extraordinary relationship together." But if the other person, if in Paul's case, if she's not feeling it, if she's not feeling the connection, then there's nothing in the world that you can do to make her come to that conclusion that, yeah, or come to the same feeling. You can't force somebody to uh, to fall in love. And there's a song, and it just triggered into my head. Uh, you can't you can't, and I think it was the line, you can't force a heart to fall in love. And it's just one of those things that Paul, if they tell you that you're in the friend zone, or that they just want to be friends, take them at face value. It's not, uh, if all they want to do is have that friendship, you can have that friendship if you choose. But if you choose to continue looking and don't want to have that connection, that link, then by all means move on. You have to move on too. You have to. You're going to have to let go of certain connections, certain, maybe even certain friendships, because they're just too hard to deal with. If you feel a strong connection to somebody, but they're not feeling it back, then you may need to cut ties with that person altogether, because it's too hard to continue to uh, maintain a friendship and be at arm's length. Put my hand up, arm's length. It's too hard to remain at arm's length with some people because you're so attracted to them. And sadly, it's and a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. It's just the raging hormones of infatuation that get us all caught up, because it's the hormones of infatuation are the same hormones that are triggered in the same part of the brain that drug addicts are triggered. The dopamine, that rush, that next feeling of joy when you see her or him. It's triggered in the same part as the alcoholic taking a next drink, or the drug addict getting his next fix. It's and these are the things that build up over time that make it very difficult, especially if you're with the wrong person. Very difficult to walk away from certain relationships. And now there are some relationships where it's for whatever reason the connection just doesn't develop as deeply, but there are others. And I don't know about you all, but I've been in a couple in my lifetime that were just brutally difficult to walk away from. And it is the way it is. But there's a book called the what's it? It's not alcohol. The Exaholics. Or something with the word exaholic in it. And it's when you're addicted to your ex. And it's caused by the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin, the and a couple of other hormones that cause us to connect very deeply to some people. And for some reason, I don't know what the scientific reasons are, but for some reason, some people are just much more deeply connected hormonally than others. And it becomes extremely difficult to walk away from those relationships. So it's you have to be you have to pay attention to that. And that's why Paul that I'm so adamant about having you have you write out your must have and your deal breaker list, which I know you've already done. We've talked about it a number of times. And because that will allow you to start recognizing when somebody isn't right. And now, even if somebody has if she has all of your must-haves and none of your deal breakers, it still doesn't mean that relationship is going to be great. It doesn't mean it's going to be good. There's too many other things. You have to be able to build an intellectual, a spiritual, an emotional, and a physical connection. You have to have personally, I believe you should be speaking similar love languages. I think that just makes life so much easier. My ex and I did not share any of, well, we shared one, but I was so far off on some of hers that it was difficult. It was difficult for me to connect with her deeply because I didn't speak one of her love languages, and that was gifts. And could I give gifts? Absolutely. But could I give them in the way she wanted them? No, I failed miserably. And I accept that. And I tried, but it just wasn't part of my DNA. And I just from that experience alone, I recognize how important it is to find somebody that you speak similar love languages. Your top two might be flip flop, but they should be pretty darn close to each other. These are things that you have to look out for. And I've and then there may be the rarer occasions where that person actually could be your soulmate, but you're not theirs. I've experienced that too. I've seen that. And that is really, really hard to overcome because you recognize how great that relationship could be for you. You're not seeing the other side. You're not experiencing the other side. And if your partner's not experiencing that, it's difficult to even begin to try to put something together. It's just, and you have to respect. I mean, no matter what you do, you have to respect your partner's wishes. If they say no, they're not feeling a connection, they're not feeling chemistry. You have to respect that. Say, okay, I get it. I don't agree with it, but they're your feelings. They're not mine. If you're not feeling it, then there's no point in me being here. There's no point in either of us being here. So we have to be able to be adult enough to accept that, or to recognize that and accept that. So many times when you tell somebody, no, I'm just not feeling the connection, especially early on, they can get angry and nasty and just bitter right from the beginning. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can go back and review how you talked about it, how you shared your feelings with them, and see if there's anything you could do better there, or anything you could have done softer that might have softened the blow, so to speak. But if they're going to be upset, they're going to be angry, they're going to block you, whatever they're going to do, or if they're going to start arguing with you. And how many of you had that happen? That you tell somebody they're not the right one and they want to argue with you. Well, you don't know what you're missing. I'm a great catch. I'm a this, I'm a that. And you need to spend more time just to get to know me. And it doesn't make any difference if you're not feeling the connection. Anybody out there felt that or experienced that besides me? Huh. Come on, type it in the answer. Type it in the chat box. You're here. I know there's several of you out there watching and listening. But anyway, it's if you have to be an adult. This is you're playing adult games here. And if you can't be an adult, if you can't act like an adult, if you can't act maturely, then maybe you don't belong in the world of dating. And hopefully I'm preaching to the choir. Hopefully. I don't want anybody that watches me to go out and treat somebody like crap because they didn't feel like that their partner was a good fit. That's no reason. You have to accept what their choices are, you don't know what their life experiences are, because all of our life experiences have molded us into what we are today. And can some of us improve on those on what we are? Absolutely. I try to be a better person every day. Doesn't always work, but there are times that it just catches up with me. And Lisa says, you do not gain anything by being mean. Absolutely not. And especially in smaller areas, if you're mean to somebody, guess what? That story is going to get out. And I even in cities like Kansas City, I've had people tell me stories and say, "Oh no, you can't trust him, you can't trust her," and this is a city of 2 million people, and these are people coming from opposite ends of the city, in the suburbs, and so word travels. People travel in circles and in multiple circles. And if you're belittling somebody, or if you're hurtful or hateful to somebody, that word is going to get around. And it's when I was running a meetup group in Kansas City, I had several people that would come up to me and say, "No, don't let that person in. You have to watch them. They're shady, they're shifty, whatever it was." And Paul says it comes down to everyone has free will. Yes, they do. And we should have some, hopefully as adults, as midlife singles or beyond, hopefully we have some maturity that we can share with others, that we're not going to berate or belittle or be hurtful to others just because we can. It's not a good way to be, and that stuff will catch up with you. It's the way of the world. And with that, why don't we wrap it up? We're coming close to the top of the hour, and unless you have any more questions, feel free to shoot those in the chat box here real quick. But otherwise, it's been an awesome session today, an awesome show. I'm glad you guys were here. Thank you all for showing up, and thank you for all your feedback and your answers, your questions, your comments. It's what makes the show. It's what keeps this thing going. And I didn't even get to I may have to have another random show next week, because I didn't even get to half of what I wanted to talk about. We just got sidetracked, and that was okay. That's what today was about. It's about being sidetracked and heading down various rabbit holes and seeing where we end up. So anyway, I thank you all. Have a great and blessed week. hope wherever you are, I think most of the country, except for down south, is getting a little bit of a heat break. Up here in northern Michigan, in upper Michigan, we are going to be, I think, 48 degrees tonight. And the leaves are turning, and it's starting to get chilly up here, and I'm looking forward to getting back to the Kansas City area in about a month and a half. But for the next 5 or 6 weeks, I will be here in Ironwood, Michigan. So I hope you all, again, have a great and blessed week. I'll see you next Monday with another edition of Monday Mastery. Have a good one, folks. Thank you. I love you guys.